So we started this in February 22nd, 2013, and it was because we saw food waste on farms in Australia on an astronomical level. We were seeing tons and tons of produce being wasted every day, like seeing tons of vanilla, ton of apricots, tons of like courgettes, and they were being fed to pigs on the farm that we were living on, and we were eating the same food as the pigs because it was really fresh produce, and this produce was kept out in the sun for weeks at a time, and we were still going back to it and eating it, like, and using it in salads. It was amazing produce, and we started questioning why this edible produce was being hauled back into land or fed to pigs and not given to the people who needed it the most. We've been to Sydney and we've seen people, like, it's got a really bad problem with homelessness in Sydney, and we realised that farmers are not charities, like it's not their job to get the food to the people that need it the most. So there was a logistic and a kind of financial side of things which was missing out of getting the food to the people that needed it, and we just decided to just create the Real Junk Food Project and just see if we could intercept this food on a very small scale to start with and feed people for free. And since then we've just grown and grown. So we now do outside catering, we now do pay as you feel cafe in Armley, and we also do urban guerrilla gardening as well. We didn't aim to be in Armley, we wanted to be a bit more local to where I live. So that I could incorporate the urban guerrilla gardening around my house into the cafe a little bit better, I guess. But we was invited to a cafe to a community centre that had a kitchen that wasn't being used, and they asked us to come down and set up this kind of concept on a trial basis of a couple of hours a week, and then split all donations 50-50 between us and the respective charity. And so that's what we did, and then ever since then it's just got bigger and bigger to the point now where we're on the verge of possibly buying the entire cafe and owning it outright. The power of like speech, I guess, and word of mouth is what we tried to do. Like, we didn't have any media advertising the cafe whatsoever. You can see it still didn't even look like a page-for cafe as such. And people had to spread through word of mouth, and then people have to talk to each other. Like, they have to say, "Can I come and sit next to you," etc. But if we're outside the door on Tanner Street, you know, they won't even look each other in the eye, and they won't say hello to each other. But in this cafe, they have to do that. In December last year, we intercepted from Suma, which is a Whole Foods sale in Halifax, and they're a workers' co-op. We went to meet them guys because we wanted to kind of learn a bit more about their business model as a workers' co-op, and they were just an absolutely great bunch of people. They invited us around the warehouse and met a lot of the staff, and they just kept giving us food until the van was completely full. Like, they wouldn't stop giving us food, and we got lots of tofu, vegan food. We were eating yogurts for like months afterwards from what we intercepted from them. That was one of the most memorable ones, about £2,000. Sorry mate. It's because I'm not talking to you, that's what it is. I pay attention too. When we first opened, there was a complaint, unfortunately, that somebody said that we were selling out-of-date meat, and the law states that you cannot sell anything past its use-by date. Well, we don't sell anything in our cafe. It's a pay-as-you-feel contribution, so people come in and then leave a donation if they wish, but the pay-as-you-feel concept that we created, well, we didn't create, sorry, we adopted it from Australia, sorry, but the one that we've created in this cafe is about people giving something back for the food that we receive. So we've had people washing our windows, we've had people building shelves for us, we'll have people volunteering in the cafe washing the pots. Pay as you feel is literally pay as you feel. If you can't afford to pay in money, there are other things that you can give to us in return that we may need. Which is great, it's great to have them people in, and I want people like that to be around this environment of understanding. It's not just about feeding people, like, it's great that people come and eat the food, we love that, but the whole reason we're here is there's an environmental side to things that we're here for. Like, there's a huge problem.
All they're doing here is just intercepting what's just going to get wasted. It's going to be turned into methane.
Yesterday, me and Corinne were sat with a guy, Mark, and he literally said to us that we probably saved his life for the fact that he was in a situation where his benefits had been stopped. He didn't know where his next meal was coming from, he couldn't afford food. He literally lived across the road from us. We opened up our shutters and he had no idea who we were. He came and asked for some sugar and some tea bags, and since then he's got artwork on our walls, and he's coming in every day and having a meal with us, and he's got lots of friends that he knows that have been coming in the cafe that he can sit around with. He's everyone knows who he is. He's part of a kind of this community, kind of environment inside our cafe.
So, but sometimes when I see internet and I see things, God, you could pull some fantastic pictures off the internet. Mainly through books. I mean, I love photographs. There's some brilliant photographs, you know. But I don't like computers. I don't like internet. I don't touch computers. I won't have it. I did it from book, but then I took it further, you know, and just used my own imagination on it.
Yeah.
Like putting fangs on Helen Bonham Carter. And I will never grow so old again. I started drawing when I was about, well, I was drawing at 15, but, you know, I actually started doing portraits when I was about 20 of people. And I was drawing from photographs mainly, and they were alright. And just gradually got better. A teacher told me years ago not to rub the pencil work with your fingers, you know, to leave it neat. I could understand what it meant. There's something about it when you just, your lines show the work. But I used to like rubbing it, you know, getting like the shading. Yeah, get the shading in and sort of blend it. And he told me not to do that, and for years I didn't, and then I started doing it again, and the pictures come alive again, you know. So it trapped me, and that's why I was afraid of going to like a formatted art school, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to get trapped again like that. And I've got a little skeleton mine. It come about from, do you know Monk, Edward Monk? It does the screen. Well, he said he had a dream one night and that painting come around from a dream, but in reality he had a little figure, a skeleton. It's real, and it's bound up, and it's got its hands like that, and its mouth sort of, you know, and I think that's where the idea originated for Scream, you know. And I love the thought of God. I'm really into God, but I don't like religion, do you know what I mean? You've got Pope, cardinals, archbishops, bishops, canons, bloody priests, you know what I mean? The list's endless. Jesus never said all about all hierarchies and that, do you know what I mean? Everybody's same in his book, you know what I mean? And that's how it should be. Once all this hierarchy shit comes in, just destroy religion straight away, you know what I mean? Get it shoved out of the way. Believe in God by all means, you know what I mean? But stop that religion. So, no time for it.
I think we're kind of like a beacon of hope for some people, and inspiration for like people just being angry with the system, or for whatever reasons they're angry with things, and they realise that this is something they can be part of.
I don't think you could paint God anyway. You couldn't paint God, could you? You know, I mean, that's the whole point of it's not to be seen, is it? If you wanted to be seen, it'd show itself to us, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Or he, saying he again, you know, who's saying she? I don't know. Judas hung himself from a tree, and I think to some degree, with him dying on the tree, Jesus said, it said that Jesus died on a tree. It doesn't say all about him being crucified on a cross. It said they hung him up on a tree. That's what Paul says. Paul says they hung him up on a tree. It doesn't say all about crucifixion like this, all that, you know what I mean? And I think the tree, when he's died, the tree's taken his spirit, you know what I mean? It's gone into the tree. Have you ever looked at trees? Some trees, they're like people. You can see figures in them, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, it's strange, but they've got a life, haven't the trees live? They're one of the longest living things on planet, I think, you know? I quite like that. I was going to put somebody here and all, you know, this side. But that could be the rope that snapped. Actually, what a way to go, it's not good. You cut your breath off, but just for a minute, your brain feels like it's going to explode. That's no way to go. There must be a better way than that. The doctor told me I had cancer, you know, and I painted this creature. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. And that was my cancer. And then I went for an MRI scan and I said, well, I'm clear. But I've been going into my head, you know, like meditating, and I was sending me soldiers, my antibodies, called them soldiers, and they're going to lead boxes and chopping away at the cancer and putting it in the lead boxes. But I'm talking about a microscopic level now. The tiny lead boxes, I was just getting rid of them when I went to the toilet, you know, either weeing them out or other way. And I kept doing that every night, you know, sending the antibodies, soldiers, down to cancer, cutting pieces off it, putting them in lead boxes, sealing them, and then I was disposing of them when I went to the toilet. And I did that for about 3 weeks, solid in my mind. And I went for an MRI scan. He says, it was just before Christmas this year that's gone. And he says, you're all clear, mate. I says, what a Christmas present. I says, thank you. He says, it's nice to give good news to people. He says, it's not often I do. I thought, that's amazing, isn't it, though? But I don't know if it was me that did it. You know what I mean? Or whether it just went. I meditate a lot. I mean, you can meditate when you're painting. It's one of the best ways to paint, really, because you find you're painting without thinking, and that's the best time to paint, when you're not thinking about it, you know what I mean? You're just doing it, and you produce your best stuff when you're not thinking. As soon as you start thinking,
So I want that number to reduce to 0, like there shouldn't be anybody who's malnourished in Leeds, especially when there is pay-as-you-feel concept, cafes, food banks, etc. So the dream is, to literally feed the world, and I think, I know we can feed the world on food waste. There's that much food waste, it's astronomical the amount of food waste. We could easily feed the world.
Definitely, her eyes are just slightly wider apart than most normal people, you know. Everybody's eyes are nearly always that balance, that you can, the size of the eye to the eye, the gap in between to the eye, it's always more or less the same on everyone I've ever painted. See, that was Kate Moss, but it was that bad I turned it into Jesus.